You don't know what to expect when you have your first of what will be many constituent town hall meetings, but this is amazing. So thank you. Thank you for coming out, and thanks for giving me your time. Certainly I know what will be your concerns and your questions. I want to first thank the Girl Scouts. That was fabulous. It's always nice to see the next generation of leaders who are coming up, especially when they're young, amazing young women. Thank you. And I want to thank Isabella Cole, who I had the privilege of meeting on the campaign, as she mentioned, at the March for Our Lives, when I was with not only my mom and my sisters, but my 2 young daughters. And it is so great to see, and I had a first row seat last year, so many young people coming off the sidelines in droves and taking an active role in what was a very important campaign. So thank you, Isabella. I know we're just getting started in terms of what you're going to accomplish in the world. So it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here at my first town hall. It's an honor to serve you as a member of Congress down in Washington. It's something I still wake up every single day and just consider the biggest honor, the greatest honor of my life. During the campaign, I ran on the promise of delivering for this district. And I hope that you all know that I very much consider this job here. We spend a lot of time getting around to every corner of the district, working with communities, community leaders, mayors, city managers on what their economic development needs are, what their infrastructure needs are, what those nonprofit groups need in the way of federal funding to fill in so many gaps that exist today for families in need. And we also meet with a lot of constituents. We pick up the phone every single day and we learn of a new problem that exists. Some of them are familiar to us, but many of them are new. We do a lot of work with the families who are affected right now by the Columbia gas explosions and mitigating those claims with Columbia Gas. But then we work on making sure people have their veterans benefits, making sure people aren't stuck in the Social Security system, making sure people have their immigration needs met. And so I'm really proud of the team that we've assembled, both here in the district as well as in Washington. So many of them are standing here today, so I would urge you at the end of this town hall to definitely get to know them. And if you have concerns or if you want to have meetings in the office, let's make that happen. It would be great next steps for us. So Isabel mentioned that I'm proud to serve on 2 committees. I mean, so much of what you do as a member is done on your committee. So the committee assignments are very, very important. You spend a disproportionate amount of time there. And the Armed Services Committee is not only important to protecting our men and women in uniform, but also making sure that we are secure in the way of cybersecurity, national security. Interesting, it wasn't looking good for Ed and Labor, which is a committee I talked a lot about last year. Someone who went through public schools and needed a scholarship in order to go to college, and just opening up more practical paths of education was something that I believed in. I really got hyper-focused on getting on that committee, but it was a competitive committee because I wasn't alone in terms of wanting to be on it. But we're persistent, as many women in elected office are. And we did. We got on that committee. And what's happening on that committee? It feels like home. We've already marked up school rebuilding, which is federal funds that is so badly needed to repair our failing schools as part of a broader infrastructure package. So I'm really hopeful that that's actually going to move in this Congress. We've marked up federal minimum wage, getting to $15 like the state of Massachusetts has. Yes. We've also had hearings and marked up paycheck fairness, equal pay for equal work. And we'll look, yes, I know there's a lot of clap lines on this committee, I have to tell you. It's why I'm so proud to serve on it. And we've also introduced legislation for paid leave, a national paid leave policy. And certainly, we're going to continue these hearings, making sure that our teachers get the pay that they deserve, making sure that we're properly funding in elementary and secondary education, and continuing to fight for college affordability. So I'm really excited about the work being done on that committee. We've also had some wins on the House floor. Many of you know that there's nothing quite like taking your oath of office in the middle of a government shutdown. It kind of takes the momentum out of an exciting day, because what you realize is as people are leaving the room, you have to open up the government. I mean, that is your job. And we did for 27 days. File legislation, pass legislation, put pressure on the Senate, tell the stories of people who were affected by the shutdown, whether it was working without pay or being forced to work, working without pay or being locked out of their jobs. We told those stories, and that brought the shutdown to an end. But then we immediately followed that with H.R. 1, which was a sweeping government reform package, one that addressed the dark money in our political system that we so badly need to get rid of. It also passed a bunch of reforms in terms of ethical standards and how we're going to hold our elected officials to high ethical standards. And finally, getting rid of all those obstructions to our voting rights. And so it was a very proud moment. It's always a proud moment when you get to stand there and listen to Congressman John Lewis remind us of why we need voting rights and restore the Voting Rights Act in this country. And so many of the freshmen who I was sworn in with ran on reform. And so it was an important first piece of legislation to pass. We were able to pass 2 amendments as part of H.R. 1. There wasn't a lot missing from that bill, but there were a couple things. One was giving voting rights to military families who are deployed and might not be living at home through absentee ballot. And another was making sure that no foreign national, no foreign interest could serve on an independent redistricting commission. We also had a legislative win by bringing over the last 10 yards passage to protect the Nashua River, something that Congresswoman Tsongas worked really hard on the last Congress, part of the biggest land and water conservation package this Congress. So I was really proud to be a part of that as well. Yeah. So I think I'll leave with one other thing before we open it up to questions, because I really want this to just be a dialogue, if amongst 200 people and me. But when I ran, I took a pledge not to take corporate PAC money. It was an important pledge to take. There is obviously an erosion of trust and faith in our government, and we want to do everything that we can to restore that trust in our elected officials. And there isn't a day that goes by that I'm not reminded that there's some lobbyist or some special interest group that would love me to not have that pledge in place. They don't think it's important. But I ran with a bunch of other members who thought it was as well. And it's the reason why we were able to get the momentum and get the passage of H.R. 1 and restore government back to the people. I take Article 1 very seriously. The fact that Congress is a separate and co-equal branch of this government, and making sure that we, make that branch of government for and by the people. So that's why I'm with you here today. That's why I plan to do many, many more of these over the course of this year and next year. But this is what it's all about. I'm your representative. I really look forward to hearing your thoughts, your concerns as we go into this legislative session. I really look forward to channeling those thoughts and concerns in my role down in Washington. And I look forward to your questions. Thank you so much.